All right. Hey guys, this is Yoda. We're finishing up the pack by pack walkthroughs. This will be Atal'Dazar. We're going to go over the 32 key that my group did last week. Wow. We start off by going Rison. You can go left. My group, we have a paladin, so we're not doing any monster pulls on the left. So we decided we're just going to less Rison to have better boss damage. Jump off here with a parachute to make sure I don't take any fall damage. You don't have to do that, but if you want to use a parachute, it's good. The first bleed, you notice I have Dwarf and Bubble available, but I'm not using any of it. That's because with these 10 swords jumping around, they're not really hurting me, but they are giving me extra shields. Like when my shield bounces, I get Bulwark of Order. I have Leech from them, and we have Sentinel and Tier on pull and Trinket. So I'm going to hold my bleed cleanses for later. You also notice I didn't LOS there. It's because I spell ward the priest, and then he stays out and mass dispels all of us. So no one actually has to LOS there. I think some of my groups still do, just in case it goes wrong, but yeah. You also notice this stalker comes. That's because at the beginning, I went to the right on the stairs, aggroed him, checked my combat, and then kept going. They were never dismounted. Alright, so that's this boss. Once you survive the bleed and the swords are dead, it's kind of easy. I also sack someone on pull because it's 10 swords. If someone dies, it's really bad. Alright, so we LOS this sphere. Next, we're going to walk him over. Generally, when you fight Rison, you're going to want to do whatever swords you're fighting on pull, and then you want to walk him over to where the two skyscreamers are. So we're walking him over to these two skyscreamers. You can pull this skyscramer. This was really not the best way to pull it, but I got it. So you can pull this one from down the stairs. The other one, someone will have to pull for you. If you leave the arena, the boss will reset. Technically, if you leave and the boss is casting, then it might be okay. But if these raptors leave the arena, the boss also resets. So it's better if just have someone else pull the bird. All right, so I choose the bubble. I choose the dwarf for the last bleed. This one is bubble. That's because after he walks, his bleed is slightly delayed. So he does the fear right after the bleed. So if you bubble right after one tick of the bleed, then your bubble also hits the fear, so you don't have to LOS. Alright, so now we don't have Bubble or Dwarf, so on this bleed it'll be Darkness, Tear, and Ardent, and potentially Tank Trinket. I guess in the Tank Trinket there, yep. Then the next one will have Bark and Goak. Then the one after that will be Dwarf. If your team doesn't meld the next bleed, you actually have Dwarf back for it too. But we always meld, so I'll just have Goak and Bark. Notice, even though I'm dropping here, I'm not sending Goak. That's because I need it for the bleed. If I send Goak here, I'm almost certainly cheating to the bleed, so it's better to just hold it, in my opinion. Alright, so that's the boss. Basically, just make sure you have a cooldown rotation planned out, make sure it makes sense. You can copy mine if you want. If you have an evoker, then it's Omega easy. He just cauterizes you every other, and you just Dwarf or Bubble. Or use all your cooldowns for the other ones, but yeah, it's a lot easier with an evoker in the group. All right, so we LOS the fear. Next, we're going this way. So this pull, we started doing more than just the standard 6 mobs here. So I'm gonna pull this Augur and this Juggernaut over here, and then my priest is going to MC one Augur. That allows us to basically as a paladin, our group can handle 2 casters, 1 Augur plus 1 Confessor. Any more than that, and we're going to suffer. So the way we do it is we're going to kill this Augur, and then he's going to let this Augur out of MC. You have to be a little bit careful for the patrol here, so we did pay attention to that at the beginning, and the patrol was good enough to do this. So our kick scheme here is I'm kicking the Augur, DH is on Mantle, and Mage is on Mending Word, Priest is my backup on the Augur. This cast actually goes off. We actually changed this after this run to have the priest be silencing the Augur on the first cast because I'm tagging, so I'm kind of global locked. The best way to solo this Augur is, in my opinion, you want to use your resonance and your shield procs for the wildfire, and you want to save your instant kick for the fiery enchant because the fiery enchant you need to kick instantly. If it ticks, if you wait for your global, then there's going to be fire on the ground. People are going to have to move. The juggernauts are going to be going everywhere. You don't want that. So you need to save your instant kick for the fiery enchant, and you want to use your shields ideally for the wildfires. If you don't have a shield, then you should be using your Hammer of Justice for it. Also, one thing to note after Resonance ends, when your shield is on cooldown, so I'm going to shield here, I think, yeah. Once that shield's on cooldown, I should be prioritizing Hammer, Blessed Hammer, to give me resets. Once I get a reset, then I start doing the normal prio again. That's because Blessed Hammer has a chance to give you a Grand Crusader proc, which has a chance to give you more Avengers Shield, which means you won't need your other ally, or you'll always basically have an interrupt. These honor guards do kind of hurt also, so make sure you have like a basic cooldown rotation running. Like obviously make sure Consecrate and Shield of Righteous are up, but then also make sure you either have Wings, Tear, Ardent, or Goak, or even Bubble available, or Healer External. Any of those works. So yeah, this is our kick scheme. Kill one Augur, let the other Augur out, then I just solo kick the Augur again. You'll notice I'm also tanking this kind of close to a wall. That's for the Demon Hunter to dash into the wall. Otherwise, if you tank like in the middle here and you're playing with a DH, then their build like basically forces them to dash out, which can be Juggernaut charges. And if the Juggernauts are charging where you don't want them, then that's basically a disaster in Atal'Dazar, as everyone knows. So that's why we're on the wall. All right. So that's this. Next pull is the Goliath. You notice we prison the patrol. Once we kill the casters again, we're going to bring that patrol in. This whole like CC process basically saves us one pull in the dungeon, which we thought was necessary for 32. Same kick scheme here. The only difference in this pack is that there's no honor guards, so you basically aren't going to be taking much damage. You can take advantage of that by just AFKing in the brain, or you can also try to look to off heal this soul burn. You can also use sack in this pull very easily. I tend to just take it easy and just sack if I need to. The soul burn doesn't hit that hard. But yeah, that's what you can do in this pull. You do have to focus on the interrupts. Obviously, if the Augur goes off, it's terrible. If the Confessor goes off, it can be a wipe. So yeah. Pretty much the same pull. And then we go up. I fight this in the corner here. This is basically the closest wall that my DH can dash into. It's exactly the same mobs as the previous pull, just like +1 jug. So I'm not going to go over it too much, but yeah. These pulls don't really hurt the tank that much. The honor guards are the only mobs really in Atal'Dazar that actually hurt. There are some, like the shield bearers and the assassins kind of hurt, the stalkers, but we're not at those yet. All right, so here we're going to CC an Augur and bring in the Juggernaut. And then this Augur will be played later once we kill one. You can also MC that Augur in and just play double Augur with your team kicking one, you kicking the other. But we like to play this on Fortified, I think. All right, so this pull is triple honor guard. So this is like actually the most dangerous pull for the tank in all of Atal'Dazar. Make sure you have a cooldown running at all times. If you're paying special attention, you can watch the cooldown on these honor guards. Their Fervent Strike is what does the most damage. If you interrupt it, they won't recast, so you can always blind if you're at a shorter cooldown, or just call a Chaos Nova or something. But yeah, this is the most dangerous pack, basically, for the tank in all of Atal'Dazar. So just make sure you always have a cooldown. I think we lust this, in theory. Oh, what did I just do? I went to the beginning. Okay, we're skipping back. Okay. In theory, we should lust this. I don't know why we haven't lusted yet. Okay, we do lust. We were just waiting for Mage Lust. Okay, we lust. With lust, it's fairly easy as a paladin to just keep a cooldown running the whole time. If your team does die, though, which can happen on this pull, the Fervent Strikers will like probably kill you if it's a high enough key level, unless you kite them. So be ready to do that if you have to. There's only one caster, so I'm kind of just solo kicking the Augur. If my team wants to kick, that's cool too. Then we get to Aluna. So the way my group does this on Fortified is we kill 2 Spirits of Gold. You don't really technically have to kill any, but if any CC gets mixed up and you chose not to kill one, then it's like GG. It's like almost guaranteed a wipe. So we prefer to just kill 2, and then if we have to wait like 5 seconds after the boss, then whatever. On Fortified, usually you lose no time, especially like on 30 or below. On Tyrannical, I think it's better to just kill 1 and then focus the boss, otherwise you lose too much time. For low keys, like below, let's say below 29, you can probably just kill every ad and you shouldn't lose time on the boss. So the way this boss works is You only need to do 25% of her health, and you should get 3 transfusions. Every transfusion does 25% of her health. So as long as you do 25% of her health by yourself in 3 phases, that's enough. Also, the transfusion cast tends to hurt your group a lot. You notice I used sack and spell word on the first one. Second one, we have darkness, and third one, I will sack again. Just make sure, as a paladin, it's very important to be, it's like one of your main strengths, making your healer basically able to heal some of these keys, especially without Aug. So yeah, make sure you're on top of using your sack and spell word. All right, we root the last one, do a little bit of boss damage, and then we go down here. So this is double augur. These augurs will not melee, or will not cast if the tank is in melee, but, I kind of have to pull this into swords, so I will be leaving melee, so I just mark them for kicks. Then we just pull in. This does have double honor guard, by the way, so it hurts a little bit. Just make sure you have a cooldown as always. There is a cheese spot like right here where your range can stand to avoid getting jumped on, but if you don't have a full range group, then it can be awkward because then the other people in the group will take more damage. Once the augurs are in, you notice they're not really casting, so I can just make sure that the screamer doesn't go off. Also, once the augurs are dead, I can chain this to the next swords because it's easier to move. This screamer, I kind of just do like a little circle around, just doing pack by pack swords. More than 5 swords, usually you're going to want like pretty big offensive cooldowns for. Holy crap, I almost died. Like 10 swords, you're going to want like a big healer CD or like, darkness and everyone's personals or whatever. 5 at a time should be kind of chill. Make sure you don't use like AoE stuns are kind of, they seem strong against the swords, but actually what they do is they sync up the sword cast so they all jump at the same time, so they're more deadly, harder to heal. So try to avoid those if possible. If you have to do it, you have to do it, but especially on the 10 swords, try not to use AoE stuns. Alright, so we just keep chaining 5 swords at a time, bring whatever Sky Screamers with us that happen to be there. Mage dies, I think, to a spite. It showed he had aggro, but I'm pretty sure he actually died to a spite here when we checked the VOD later. I actually checked right there. Let me see. Okay, whatever. So this pack, we're going in. There's 2 Witch Doctors you need to interrupt. So I just, as always, when there's 2 casters, I solo one, entire group's on the other one. These Stalkers you have to be careful for. So the tank damage in this pack is the shield bearers with shield bash and the stalkers. Make sure you're dispelling poison. This debuff basically they put on you makes you the next one hit harder, so you want to never be sitting on this. You can just dispel yourself as a paladin. Hopefully if you're playing VDH, then you have some kind of poison spell in the group, like an Aug or a Druid or a Mistweaver or whatever, or the most common. Also keep in mind when you're soloing kicks, you want to be prioritizing your Blessed Hammer if you don't have a proc available or your interrupt available. I'm not doing as good of a job of it here because I'm kind of focusing on surviving. This pull is like the second hardest pull, I guess, in Atal'Dazar for the tank. Atal'Dazar is not that hard on tanks. Oh, also we wiped here, by the way. So this bird is somehow still alive. I thought it was dead, so I didn't bother calling anything, but yeah, we had stops to use, we just didn't use them because no one thought the bird was still alive. So I actually die here. And we run back. So this is a decent one to show recovery, I guess. So I think someone was somehow still alive. Probably the priest or the mage. When you're recovering the pull, it's kind of important that you have a way to get aggro back. I didn't have bubble here, so I thought it was doomed, but Divine Toll is actually really, really strong at getting aggro back. So I toll. I actually somehow have both the Stalkers, which both Venom Fang strike me for a lot of damage. So I start kiting, because I'm scared of my health. I'm also trying to get the casters in, so they're not free casting in the back. I think once my team is back, I decided to kick this in, because this one's almost dead. Yeah, when there's one caster alive, you can just solo it as a tank, so no one else, you can kind of just get it in, I guess. Then I get bubble back, and we have recovered. So yeah, the biggest thing to do when you've died and run back Your two best tools are Bubble Taunt and Divine Toll to get aggro back. In this pull, the Stalkers are actually kind of dangerous if the pull starts going to shambles because they do ticking AoE damage, and if your healer's behind, then that can basically cause people to just die to healing. And the casters can also cause trouble if the bolts go off. So those are my two main focuses. Like the Bulwark is kind of annoying if it makes it's not going to shield the mobs, they're going to live longer, but when you're trying to recover a pull, it's more important to just keep everyone alive. Okay, there's the shield bash I was talking shit about, and it just one-shot me. I think I walked out of Consecrate and it killed me. Yeah, here it is. I'm out of Consecrate. Boom, one shot. I was kind of just rushing, like, trying to get to the next pull, because I didn't know how much time we had. Alright, we get to Vol'kaal. The way we assign this is we just have one DPS on each totem, and the Shadow Priest and Mage are ranged DPS, so they're kind of just, like, evening out the totems, because they do a lot of damage on the totems, so they're usually going to be ahead, so they basically just swap if one's ahead. Sometimes I have to run like from this totem to the other one in case it gets behind, which I think I'm doing that right now. But yeah, on this boss, you kind of want to just, as a tank, people kind of expect you to like be on top of the stench cast, even though it's not ideal for a melee to do it. As a tank, you are in melee. But yeah, just be hyper aware of this noxious stench, especially in pugs. Like if you're playing with an evoker or something or a ranged DPS that you can count on to always get the kick, then you don't have to pay a bunch of attention. But I always watch for it, basically, especially as a paladin. People do expect the tank to look for that, even though it makes no sense. That's just how the world works. All right, so once these totems are all dead, we'll show the Consecrate gameplay a bit. So on this boss, it's really tough to take advantage of your big Consecrate because the puddles keep dropping. So you need to basically you need to game and walk in a circle around your Consecrate. As you can see, I'm kind of doing here. Didn't get max value. It is possible to get max value. I think that time the problem was I didn't use this half of the Consecrate. But yeah, when you don't have your big Consecrate up, it's kind of fine to just keep walking and not grief your DPS that much. But when you have big Consecrate, this boss hurts a decent amount, so it's nice to just stay in it. Here I kind of there's too much poop ahead of us, so I can't even use it anyway. But yeah, let me see if I can find a good one. So here we have 5 stacks. I drop it. I'm gonna walk to the left here and kind of just do a very, very small movements while not staying in poop. Trying to take full advantage of this. So yeah, I almost got full value here. That's the kind of movement you want to be doing on this boss. Otherwise, you're going to lose a lot of value from your big Consecrate. You lose damage, you lose tankiness, and this boss does actually hit the tank quite hard. Make sure you're taking advantage of that. If your healer's in trouble, you can Dispel. Just keep in mind that Dispel costs a lot of mana, so you may if you have to keep Dispelling. Dwarf is also super useful in this boss. You dwarf off the debuff, and then you're also not ticking from the disease. And then you also have Stone Form, the 10% DR, which is good. Also, when you bubble on this boss, generally you're going to want to use Sack as well. This boss is like a HPS check, so in any of those HPS check bosses, when you bubble, you want to Sack. All right, so that's this boss. Onward to Yasma. This bird we actually have planned to pull with Yasma. That's because on Tyrannical, I've been playing Signet Brand in this Thunder, and this bird just kind of stuck around. It's nice kind of for Shadow Priest funnel on the boss. They get Twist of Fate procs, and there's no way a kick goes off, surely, with all 5 players alive. No one's kicking the boss, so yeah. I like this bird. We don't slow down the boss pull, because as you can see, I'm ready to pull the boss, and team is not ready, so pulling the bird did not slow down the pull at all. On this boss, as a paladin, you actually have a lot of agency. You can Divine Toll every ad set. I tend to Divine Toll on pull, because if you toll on pull, it lines up for second ads, and then fourth, and then sixth. And first ads kind of melt anyway, so I like tolling on pull. Your sack, the way we play it with a paladin and a druid is I just pretty much sack off cooldown as long as it's not on the druid, because the druid basically just lives for free with bear form. I just sack off cooldown on Racking Pain, and then he barks if I don't have sack up and someone's in trouble, then he barks. Then if his bark's down, that's when I use Spell Ward. This boss doesn't hurt that much. Just like, you know, if he's using Skewer, you got nothing else to use your cooldowns on, you might as well use it there. But I'm pretty sure if I'm full health, I can take a Skewer naked without blocking and I won't die. So this boss isn't that challenging for tanks. There we toll. I actually wasn't in range, which is unlucky. Also note that I'm walking like kind of along the edge here. You want to be walking basically along the edge, along this rectangle, and then you dip into the King's Rest when you pass here. This is called King's Rest because this is where one of the BFA dungeons was. We drop in here. So once we drop the echoes, we're going to pop out. Then we drop the Soul Rend in the corner, and then I'll be walking probably, ideally I'm walking like to this corner, but they drop the Soul Rend there, so I kind of have to cut across this way. Basically, always just keep in mind, you need to be a set distance away from the ads, so that when the boss sits still to cast Racking Pain, the ads don't go in. And also you want to be walking around the edge of the room, not through the middle, and you want to be keeping the boss away from these spiders too, so it's safe for your melee. So as soon as these spiders drop, we're moving the boss away. And then I think as soon as these grow, we're going to run again. So yeah, you do kind of want to make sure you're like tucking into the corner every time you get to that area. Otherwise, if you like move too fast around the room, then, you know, the spiders will just be everywhere. You have to kind of bait them like into a corner. Every other ad set is a Divine Toll, so you do a decent amount of damage to them. Try to have big Consecrate lined up for that, but if you don't, it's whatever. Consecrate's really annoying to play on this boss. Alright, and that's the boss. That's all for this video. So yeah, thanks everyone for watching. Don't forget to follow, subscribe, whatever, and catch me on Twitch. Peace out.